Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen,
Good evening.
and happy Thursday to you. Today is Thursday, August the 26th, 2021. We're here at 901 Main Street in the heart of Old Town Conyers in the Assembly Hall, and I am now calling the meeting to order. We're going to start our meeting with the invocation led by our very own Director of Planning and Development, Director Kalani's Johnson.
Good evening, everybody. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight with bowed heads and humble hearts. Just want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing us to come to this meeting. Thank you for the commissioners, the applicants, the visitors, the staff. Thank you for watching over us. Please watch over us as we conduct the business of Rockdale County. Help us to understand that the purpose here is to continue to do what's best for Rockdale County. Please watch over us as we leave the meeting and go home to our families. We ask these and the blessings in your loving Son, Jesus Christ's name. We pray and ask it all. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Director Johnson, and we are moving at this time, Commissioners, for the approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
I second that motion.
It has been properly motioned and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Approval of the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right. I think we're down to the rules and procedures for our public hearing.
Okay, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I'll read these. If you're joining us in person, each speaker must sign their name to an appropriate zoning case sheet and fill out a public comment card to register your intent to speak prior to the start of this meeting. If you are joining us virtually, you should have registered your intent to speak with staff prior to the start of this meeting. Each item of business will be handled in the order that it appears on the agenda, unless upon motion of the Board of Commissioners, the order is changed. A member of the county planning staff will present each item to the Board of Commissioners. The zoning applicant or the agent will state their name and address at the microphone and will have 10 minutes in which to make his or her presentation. Any portion of their 10 minutes may be reserved for rebuttal following the opposition to the application. After the applicant's presentation, all registered speakers who wish to speak in favor of the application will be heard. The Secretary will call all speakers by name in the order of persons attending live in the auditorium, then persons attending via the virtual meeting. Prior to speaking upon the item, each speaker will state their name and address at the microphone. They will also be limited to a total of 10 minutes. Once the applicant has made his or her presentation and the speakers in favor of the application have been heard, the Secretary will then call upon the registered speakers in opposition to the application. The speakers will be called by name in the order of persons attending live in the auditorium, then persons attending via the virtual meeting. The opposition shall likewise be limited to a total of 10 minutes. Once the public hearing portion is closed, no other speakers will be heard. After all comments have been heard, the board may elect to hold general discussion. However, no decisions will be rendered at this meeting. Decisions will be made at the next regularly scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Commissioners, just point of clarity, there are no attendees attending virtually.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
This is just an in-person meeting.
Thank you very much. All right, and there's also no old or unfinished business at this time. We'll move right on to new business.
Okay. Good evening again.
Right.
Chairman, Madam Commissioners.
Good evening.
All right, first item we have up tonight will be item A. This is a mixed residential uses zoning district. This is a request to amend section 206-7 MUR, or mixed use residential district, section 214-1 dimensional standards of zoning districts, section 218-1 table of permitted uses, and section 218-13 supplemental standards of use and development. Text amendment case 2020 21-22. The recommendations from the Planning Commission were to approve, and staff recommended approval as well. Basically, staff believe that changing the zoning district, and this is just a procedural, a nominal change from mixed-use residential MUR to mixed residential uses MRU, makes the intent clearer, cleaner. And when you think of mixed-use residential, you're actually mixing uses, office, industrial, commercial. If you mix in residential, you mix in densities, single family, townhome, multifamily, so on and so forth. There are a couple of items that will come before you tonight that actually supports this.
Okay.
All right, the MRU zoning district should be permitted outside of the Salem Road Corridor Overlay District, because currently that's where it's only allowed now. We also think that the MRU zoning district should permit a mix of single-family detached, single-family zero lot line, townhomes, attached single-family, two-family or duplexes, and multifamily structures, not just attached single-family and multifamily. The revisions to provide the standards for the newly added structures and the recent conditions approved by the BOC should be codified instead of being repeated for every rezoning, which will obviously come in handy. Again, staff recommended approval, and the Planning Commission did as well. And here, first of all, we'll look at some of the standards for going from MUR to MRU. Building size, no more than 6 dwellings. Some of these standards are pretty similar to what we've had earlier, so no major changes here without reading a lot of these. Obviously, 2-car garages will be the minimal, rear-loaded as well as front-loaded townhomes. Driveway depth, making sure that the driveways are sufficient. If there are 2 cars parked in front of each other, that you will not impede any movement on any sidewalks. 16-foot width for the actual driveways as well. And no parking allowed in the front yard outside of an approved driveway. It's very important. The aesthetics, the balconies, the elevations, again, these are some pretty much standard conditions that we have for most of our exterior finishes and so forth for our other townhomes, so without reading all those. Site development, 10-foot wide landscape strip, 24 feet wide pavement from curb to face of curb. Again, pretty standard. All sidewalks will be ADA compatible. Again, these are similar standards that we have throughout for other residential developments we've had already. And the 5-foot wide landscape strip, any trees planted will count toward the tree recumbency credits for the county. For the rear loaded, any alleys, 18-foot wide minimum, again, that's standard. Any of the amenities, 5-foot wide sidewalks, again, ADA compatible. Any grass areas must be sodded. Utilities underground, and again, natural vegetation should remain on the property until an LDP is approved. Again, these are standard conditions. Street lights throughout the residential development, again, the standard. Traffic impact study will always be recommended and provided at the time of rezoning. And basically anything that was associated with the previous MUR district will now just pass on to the new MRU district. Here is the standards. Again, I mentioned some of this earlier. Development standards for residential zoning districts. The zoning district, again, only applicable within the Salem Road corridor. We need this to be, in other areas outside of that. Let's see. Here is, again, heated floor, square foot. Gives you a little information in terms of the minimum, $850 for 1 bed, for instance, $1,000 for a 2-bed. 3-bedroom, $1,150, and 4 bedrooms, $1,200. And these are unit development standards for the new, the proposed MRU zoning district. Again, tells you just some standards in terms of lot sizes, setbacks, maximum impervious surface, rear setbacks, the encroachment that's allowed for front porches and back porches. Again, these are somewhat standard that we have for other areas of the county. And finally, the permitted use table. As you see, we crossed out the MUR, added the MRU, and made sure that it will be adding single-family detached as well. It's simply mixing densities. You will be able to have developments that you can have a single-family detached as well as townhomes or multifamily in the same area. And again, there are a couple of proposals that will come before you tonight to show this. And this concludes the staff's portion of this particular item. Are there any questions?
Commissioners, any questions for Director Johnson?
No.
Okay,
No.
all right.
Okay.
We're rocking and rolling.
All right, next item is 1959 Old Covington Highway Southeast. Two items here. It's a future land use map case, 2021-09, to amend it from commercial to high-density residential. Also, it's a rezoning case, 2021-15, rezone it from R1 single family and M1 limited industrial to MRU mixed residential uses. As you see, there are 7 tax parcels here, so they're assembling several properties. The owners are Carolyn Williams and William Hogan. The applicant is Inline Communities. And this, again, because of both the rezoning and the future land use amendment, 2 motions will be required. The purpose is to develop a single-family attached townhome as well as single-family detached within the same development, which we just discussed. Right now, this total of all these 7 parcels combined are 50.26 acres. We're looking at 319 single-family developments of family structures. 70 will be detached 50-foot wide lots, and then 249 townhomes, 185 units, 22-foot wide. Out of the 185 townhomes, we will look at 84 front loaded and 101 rear loaded. And there will also be 64 units, 24-foot wide front loaded lots as well. In terms of density, 6.3 units per acre, proposed density. For the entire development, 60 overflow parking spaces. All will have, again, 2 car garages. After talking to the applicant and looking at the application, staff, we approved it with conditions. And the Planning Commission, they also approved the future land use component. But for the rezoning, they wanted to table it, and in terms of tabling, it's essentially a no recommendation. But their concern was not that it was not a good project, it was the fact that preparing a recommendation for rezoning to a district with proposed revisions that have not yet been approved by the Board of Commissioners, hence the MRU, which we mentioned earlier. So they did not dislike the actual proposal, it's just the fact that MRU is not an actual zoning district as of yet. So that they did render a no decision. All right, here's an aerial of it, showing where we are, the red X. The green X is showing Old Covington Highway, and this area is adjacent to the BJ's and where we have some other recent developments along Old Covington Highway. Here's another aerial, again showing the symbols of the properties. Again, the R1 and the M1. In 2001, there was a rezoning, 25.4 acres from R1 to M1. Let's see, 2007, there was a future land use map amendment to go from manufacturing and light industrial to commercial. So those are just showing some previous activities in this particular area. And again, staff recommend approval with the following conditions. The rezoning plans prepared by the PEC engineered August shall become the guiding layout and design. The actual location, the water quality area, streets, infrastructure will be subject to the actual site conditions and requirements of the county's code. The site shall be restricted not to exceed 319 dwelling units total, with no more than 249 of those being townhome units and permitted accessory uses. The site shall be developed in compliance with the proposed MRU, which we just mentioned earlier, and a minimum of 60 guest parking spaces shall be provided throughout the townhome development. The townhome side of the development, excuse me. Again, all dwellings shall have 2 car garage minimums. The doors will be the carriage style. Again, that's pretty standard. Rear building elevations facing Old Covington, having a vertical break, 1 foot for every 2 residential units. Exterior lighting fixtures, standard. 20-foot landscape strip adjacent to Old Covington shall be provided, and we'll have street trees, shade trees, 50-foot centers on maximum. And again, this will count toward any recompense credits for the tree for Rockdale County. As always, 5-foot wide sidewalks, ADA compatible. Where any fencing is provided, it should be decorative, aluminum. Again, these are standards for any other fences that we've had throughout other residential projects. 30-foot replanted landscape strip, 5-foot tall wooden privacy fence will be provided along the northern property line, and the 40-foot setback line will be provided on the northern as well. In terms of traffic impact study, they did submit a traffic impact study. Any recommendations shall be required to be shown on the LDP, and additionally, as determined by our RDOT, any recommendations for improvements will be required to be shown on the forthcoming LDP as well. And obviously, the covenants, conditions, restrictions regarding rental limited to no more than 5% max. Again, that's standard for the county. And the final plat, covenants, conditions, restrictions, basically saying that if you purchase a property here in this MRU zone, that previously it was something other than residential, if you buy a home here, you will hear noises and other elements that are consistent with non-residential development. So you can't say, well, I didn't know a train was here, or so and so forth. But again, this is, another standard that we have in most of our development proposals. All right, so this concludes staff's part of the presentation. You have any questions for staff?
So did you say that there were some detached houses in this development too?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Okay.
there will be, go back. Yes, 70
Okay.
detached homes as well as the townhomes as well. Hence the need for the MRU zoning we talked about.
Okay.
But now the applicant is here. They have a presentation, so if you have some detailed, specific questions, I think they'd like to come up. Is that okay?
Commissioners, any questions?
No, that was the only question I had.
No questions.
I don't have any. I have a comment though.
Sure.
For the record, I want to say that I was in a meeting today and it was made clear to us that one of the clear elements of economic development is making sure that we get our housing stock up so that we have a place that people can
Rooftops.
rooftops, but when people are looking to move their workforce, they want their workforce to be near the work so that they're not traveling a long time. So that's, I think that the fact that we have industry or corporations that are so interested in building in Rockdale County is going to help our economic development efforts in the future.
Absolutely. Commissioner? All right.
So I don't need a presentation. But one question I do have,
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
how close is this to the other, is this right next door to the other
It is
development?
on the adjacent to the BJ's, right? It's
Okay,
really close.
okay, that's what, I was
And it's
almost
also borders the
confused.
city of Conyers as well.
Okay.
They have a lot of retail and stuff, so.
Okay,
Definitely
yeah.
good
All
place.
right. I was just
It's the west side of BJ's.
It's the
then.
west side, yes, ma'am, where the other project was actually southeast of it.
Right.
Yes.
Which way?
Okay, I'll go back to it so you can see this.
Yep.
So, yeah. So that, what you see peeking at the bottom of that's BJ's.
Okay, so it's on the other side of the street of Old Covington Highway?
No, ma'am, this is
It's on the same.
other side of BJ's.
Okay, it's on the
Right.
same
Yes,
side
on the
of
same side, adjacent, yes, ma'am, on the same
Okay.
side of the street, just west.
Just on the west
Yes, ma'am,
side.
north or,
Gotcha.
yeah, northwest, depending on the, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
All righty.
Okay, let's see. Okay, a nice presentation. Next item is item C, CUD, Unified Cottage Development or Tiny Home District and Cottage Homes, Tiny Houses. This is text amendment case number 2021-20, and it is to amend section 106-1 definitions, section 202-4 division of the county into districts, chapter 206 base zoning districts, section 202-6 relationship to the comprehensive plan, section 214-1 dimensional standards of zoning districts, section 218-1 table of permitted uses, section 218-13 supplemental standards of use and development, and section 222-2 parking space requirements. Summary: staff was approached multiple times by prospective and current property owners / residents regarding whether or not they can live in cottage homes or tiny houses within Rockdale County. Currently, our UDO, our ordinance, does not permit cottage homes, tiny homes at all. Staff believes that a new zoning district specifically for these cottage homes / tiny houses should be created. Based on this, staff recommended it, obviously we support it, and the Planning Commission said yes as well, that they do support the need for a district specifically for cottage homes / tiny homes. And so here, definition, what's a cottage home? It's a, sir?
I'm not.
Go right
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. Okay. It's a principal and permanent residential structure. They include residential, industrialized buildings, as well as site-built dwellings. A unified cottage development is a type of planned unit development that is comprised of cottage homes defined within section 106-1. Okay, looking at section 202-4, again, the mixed residential use district, unified cottage development, CUD, including these only and for future land uses in areas that are marked for medium density residential and high density residential. Again, we're not talking about having a district arbitrarily throughout the county, but only in areas that are medium density residential and high density residential. And I'll explain why that makes a little sense. We'll go further on. Purpose and intent. It is intended to allow and encourage coordinated, uniform development of cottage home communities centered around exceptional public spaces. It shall be included within medium density residential, as I just stated, as well as high density residential, and conservation subdivision categories of the future comprehensive plan. Basically, we want to provide a residential zoning district that permits flexibility in dwelling size to promote a scaled down, enhanced community space, as well as efficient uses of land. Also, to permit the clustering of homes and structures, which will reduce the amount of infrastructure and the overall cost burden. Also, to promote green space, open space, other forms of common areas, and to promote something that's environmentally friendly that will reduce the individual's overall carbon footprint by having something smaller. Okay, general regulations, the applicability to the comprehensive plan. The CUD zoning classification is only available within, again, medium density and high density residential and conservation subdivision categories. The tract of land subdivided may be held in single and separate ownership or in multiple ownerships. If held in multiple, however, it shall be developed according to a single plan that abides with the subsections D through H. And some of these permitted uses, principal structures permitted in CUD are limited to cottage homes, as we mentioned earlier. Standards property in the CUD district may be developed in accordance with section 214-1, dimensional standards for zoning, and table 1, development standards for residential zoning districts. Design standards. In addition to the dimension, to the size of these structures, you have some other site elements. Minimum open space, 20% of gross parcel area prior to the subdivision. Open space shall meet all standards listed in this section. All street parking requirements. All cottage homes are required to have at least one on-street parking space and then one on-street parking space for every 500 square feet of the structure. So if it's at least 500 square foot, that's 2 parking spaces. So you can't have one parking spot.
It's 204 square feet. for this one. So how, they get a half a car for the 204 square feet?
No, well, you get one parking space, but then if you go up to 500, you get 2. So they'll have to have one, obviously.
It means you can only have bicycles or,
Right, motorcycles.
yeah.
She already violating the doggone ordinance already. Can you pass it first?
I'm just trying to be clear.
No, that's a good question, good question. So yeah, but at least one. So if you go up to 500, then you get 2 spaces. Right.
But everything is on-street parking. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
On the street?
Right.
Okay.
So are they gonna designate, like, if I got a tiny house, I have my designated parking spot for my motorcycle?
You will have to have your designated spot, yeah. Yes, ma'am. And some of this will be more refined as we get into the actual site development, refined engineer plans, but yes, the short of it is yes, ma'am. Yes. All street parking shall be permitted if physical site constraints significantly impact the ability to provide. So if there's a reason why you can't park immediately in front of your structure, there will be some sort of, accommodation for something off, away from it, maybe a designated parking area in the event, but hopefully most of them will be able to park in front of their structure. But in the event, there will be designated parking area. Okay?
So is there anything that talks about the width of the street?
Yes, ma'am, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Streets. That shall form a connected pattern, grid, or curvilinear that does not interrupt the existing topography or natural features to minimize moving of earth. They must be aligned with planned open space. Street lights, again, no more than 60 feet apart. Sidewalks on both sides of the streets, again, 5-foot wide sidewalks, ADA compatible. Street trees, again, that's pretty standard. Crosswalks, parking, community parking should be provided within development. Let's see, community parking spaces shall be provided for every 5 cottage homes. And I think there's something about the street width, it's open
It
space.
does, yeah, that's what I had already looked at that, but I didn't see anything that
For the
said.
streets in there, okay. I thought we had something for the on-street parking.
So that's gonna be, need to be included for emergency personnel and,
But I'm definitely 24 feet curb to curb. Yeah, that has to be standard, so. But we'll clean that up, yes, ma'am.
okay.
Yeah, but definitely, yeah,
Is
anything with that.
Is that the width that we have now?
For townhomes, done, yes, ma'am, the one we
townhomes?
just mentioned, 24 feet from curb to curb. You can get 2 lanes plus an emergency vehicle down the middle of that if need be.
Okay,
Yeah, so that's something we'll clean up, make sure that's in there.
okay, but what about if there's parking on the street?
If there's parking on either side of the street, if it's 24 feet from curb to curb, you still will be able to get an emergency vehicle down the middle if there's cars on either side. A truck should be able to come
And
down.
there's still room for traffic to move back and forth if there are cars parked on both sides,
Yes.
traffic still moves?
Come
Right.
to my subdivision.
And a fire engine or a public safety vehicle should be able to move down the middle of that in the event of emergency.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. But we'll have, again, more engineered plans with schematics, typical sections that'll show the dimensions, because that's something that definitely, if it's not clear, we need to make that clear for you.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And that's something Terrence will make note of that. Let's see. Open space.
Excuse me.
Okay, here we're talking about the dimensional standards of the zoning district. Again, units per acre, 12 units, lot width in feet, 30, minimum lot depth, no more than 64 feet in terms of the depth of the lot, side setback 10, rear setback 20. The minimum square foot will be 200. The maximum amount of impervious surface for these lots will be 40%. The minimal amount of open space, 25%. And the building height will be no higher than 35 feet. And the table of permitted uses, again, this new district, CUD district, will be permitted, showing where we will actually insert that. And parking spaces, as we mentioned earlier, will, in with new section 206-19, where we just actually read through those earlier. Okay, supplemental standards. The design shall conform to all the existing codes we have, which means you're not putting up anything that's shabby or not to the quality for the county. I mentioned earlier the 200 feet for the livable heated floor. Minimum 200 feet, but it cannot exceed 1280, because then it's not a tiny home anymore. At least 13.5 in height, but again, no more than 35. And some of these standards were actually mentioned earlier in that table, so I don't want to repeat those. This concludes staff's presentation on this particular item. Are there any questions?
Are we gonna have, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Are we gonna have, a certain, that they have to build with a certain type of material?
Yes,
Or
the
is-
cementous material, the standards, some of the same things that will be, yeah, is that what you're talking about, the
Like
facades?
cementous material, like the,
Something that's like hardy plank, something that's
hardy
a quality,
plank?
yeah.
But you're not talking about those cinder block type things? that we-
No, not cinder blocks, no.
I'm
And
just
cinder
making
blocks are
sure.
cement, and cementous material means the composition of it, it's
Right.
not particle board. So
Right.
when you see cementous material, particle board is something that's really shabby, get wet and deteriorates, no. Talking about something of quality, and some of the same standards that for our other homes in the county, so.
Okay, I just want to
But no, not
clarify
cinder
that
blocks,
for
no.
for the public.
I can
That
agree.
I want to clarify for the public, so people aren't thinking that we're allowing people to put up,
No.
those cement homes.
No, they have to be quality now, and so the issue is that you're buying smaller lots and less materials, hence should be more of an affordability factor, so that's just, you're scaling down a quality home.
Right.
All right.
Commissioner?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Will, once there's a developer who develops a parcel of land to create a tiny home.
A district.
District.
Yes, sir.
Will folks be allowed to put up privacy fencing?
Then we have,
And the description of the district looked quite appealing,
yes, sir.
the way it's laid out. But in my mind, I was imagining a tiny home and just sitting out in an open field. I think if I was purchasing one, I'd want a privacy fence.
Like a light.
Just to, because commissioner's excited about getting one, and I know if we get one, and there's only gonna be one district, so we're gonna be neighbors, and I wouldn't want her in my business, and I wouldn't want to be in her business. Ain't no telling what she might be
Okay,
doing
Director Johnson, this answers the
over
question.
across the way in her tiny house. Ain't no telling what she may be doing in her tiny house.
The lots will be smaller, so which means that you will be closer. So to that, I think fences will be something that we could add those standards, yeah. And I
Well,
think because of the
listen.
distance, proximity, you may want to have a fence.
You can do
I
that
invited your son to my barbecue.
Yes,
On the
ma'am.
tiny
if
house
you add
barbecue.
fences, as an allowable feature, then those need to be
Regular.
identified as, specific types of fencing that is allowed.
Right, it'll be
A standard
it'll be a
fence,
standard
right,
fence, yeah,
right.
6 feet in height, and yes, certain materials.
So I like what the commissioner said.
Yeah.
If I put up a privacy fence, it should look like the one she put up.
Exactly.
And it should look like the one she puts
Yes,
up. And it shouldn't be
yes.
mismatched privacy fences all over. There should be a standard. Yes, I like that.
Again, this would be
One
a
size
scaled
fits all.
down version of what we already have in the county, so quality, and everything should not deter from that, it should be just a smaller version of it. So, but that's something we can definitely add in terms of conditions and all.
See, we'd be good neighbors.
Channel 2 is stayed on our street. They camp out.
Okay? No more questions, we'll go to the next item.
Next item, please.
Next item, item D, mini warehouses, and self-storage units. Text amendment case 2021-22. Amended section 106-1, definitions. Section 218-1, table of permitted uses. Section 218-13, supplemental standards of use and development. Okay, summary. We were approached, multiple interested parties regarding self-storage in the C2 zoning district. However, self-storage was removed from C2 in the 2006 timeframe of the current Unified Development Ordinance, or UDO. So as a result, there's at least one self-storage facility now that's non-conforming because it was built prior to the change. Staff researched prior text amendments, not only in the county, other areas in the metro area, and realized that supplemental standards, that mixed standards that existed previously and standards from other communities is allowable. And so again, this is for the C2 district only. Based on the research and based on the conversations we had with the Planning Commission, we approved this measure as well as the Planning Commission. And basically, self-storage mini, self-storage multi. Self-storage mini is a single-story commercial structure with interior or exterior access, non-climate control or climate control, where a self-storage multi is multi-story. So in terms of the basic definition of them. Here in our section 218 permitted uses, again, we will have a insert mini and multi, again in the C2. They're already permitted both in our M1 and M2 industrial zone areas, so this will allow it in the C2 only in terms of the new areas. And
Just clarify for me, C1 and C2.
commercial 1, commercial 2. C2 is like a Home Depot, a little more high intensive than commercial. Commercial 1, C1 would be stores, shops, t-shirt shops, restaurants, things of that sort. Whether, parking and you don't have a lot of heavy trucks and that sort, but like a Lowe's or something of that would be maybe a C2.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe a Sunbelt Rentals where you're renting equipment for your
Got it.
yard, things of that sort would be considered a C2.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. just a larger scale.
Gotcha.
Yes, ma'am. Section 218-13, Supplemental Standards, again, 70-foot wide buffer will be required. In the event there's a C2 district that's adjacent to a residential property, you have to have that transitional buffer to protect the integrity of the residential property. 50-foot wide buffer shall be required for the conversion of an existing building with outdoor storage when abutting residential properties. Let's see, something else new, sales and rental of merchandise shall be permitted on site as long as those sales and rental materials are something that's consistent with actual storage, outdoor storage material. Such sales that may be conducted by the operator of the facility only. The sale of rental merchandise by individual tenants of the facility is specifically prohibited. And any auctions of abandoned property by tenants of the facility or property seized for non-payment of the rent of these facilities may be held by the operators of the facility only, but they have to be conducted in compliance with the state laws. And so if someone's not paying their fees for that, and so making sure it's not a flea market type deal, so. Okay. Let's see, outdoor storage is on site. It shall comply again with the earlier standard. Any vehicle, boats, trailers should be located to the rear of the self-storage structure. Covered vehicle storage shall be allowed as long as it does not exceed 25% of the overall gross square footage. That's another insert is that exterior lighting should be located in design automatic cutoffs. Again, these are some standards, particularly with the lighting, that won't have any adverse effect to in neighboring parcels of properties, particularly the residential. And if needed, obviously an office or an accessory to the operation of the facility obviously has to be permitted on site, someone to manage this entity. Access, they may have exterior access to the individual units, self-storage, multi, or many. All buildings shall maintain a decorative facing on the portions of the building that face public streets. Again, wood textured vinyl, brick, veneer, rock, cementous material. Again, these are something that's pretty standard for the current existing facilities that we have in this county. Let's see. And then within the C2 zoning district, very important, on the permitted only on state highways or when adjacent to an interstate highway, the Board of Commissioners shall consider following criteria when considering an application for it, whether it's sufficiently buffered by distance and landscaping relative to the surrounding uses, especially residential zone property, whether the facility is sufficient for architectural quality, the facade, the materials, the accents, some of the things you mentioned, Commissioner Washington, and obviously whether it meets the goals of the comprehensive plan, small area plan, the degree of pedestrian orientation, and any targeted economic development sectors. So we just can't throw anything over there. There's still some, some regulatory items that you need to be aware of for this type of proposal. And this concludes staff's portion for this particular item. Are there any questions?
Yes. I have concerns about the fact that vinyl siding is an improved exterior material. It's in number 10 under,
Okay, and that's something we can remove certain, if you want to restrict it to metal, if you want to keep it brick or fiber cement, but if you want to remove vinyl siding, we can do that.
yes.
Yeah, yes ma'am.
I think it needs to be removed. I think we need to avoid vinyl
Yes
siding.
ma'am, that's something, at this, where we are at this part,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Commissioner Washington, you get it?
No,
Yes.
Okay,
concurring.
all right, that's something we can do as well, okay. Are you okay with the stone, stucco, synthetic stucco, you're okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, but yeah, we can remove out the
All
wood
right,
texture
what's
vinyl
next?
siding. All right, next item we have is ADUs, item E,
We done got him,
accessory dwelling units.
we've gotten him.
Text
to the
amendment
point.
case 2021-19. Again, this is to amend section 106-1, the definitions. Section 206-1, the watershed protection district. Section 218-1, the permitted use table. And section 218-13, the supplemental standards of use and development. Prospective and current property owners have asked about accessory dwelling units for residential purposes. However, our current ordinance restricts them to only non-residential zoning. Staff proposed amendments that will help to provide a variety of housing choices, as well as accommodate a wide range of income levels, age groups, and lifestyles. Presented this to the PC, the Planning Commission recommendation denied because they felt as though accessory dwelling units are not appropriate for residential, for single-family residential zoning district. And they didn't think that it belonged in any single-family residential zoning districts at all, and it could defeat the purpose of it. And staff, after back and forth with them, we wanted to take this back to the Planning Commission to refine it, polish it up, because we think it's something that it's a good proposal. But with that concern, we definitely can take some things out. So we want to take this back to the Planning Commission and then present it again.
So this would be like people that have pool houses
Or mother-in-law suite.
or
pool,
mother-in-law
yes, ma'am.
suites or
Yes.
things like that. So it is not something that we're creating, it's something that we're trying to accommodate.
Currently, there's accessory units, but they're not for residential use right now.
Right.
You can have
But
storage
I'm saying
houses.
in other jurisdictions,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
is
Yes, ma'am.
something that's
The,
very.
the city already has passed this,
So what
Same
kind
proposal.
of, tuning up are you trying?
Well, just not, that's something we'll have to figure out. They were very opposed to it in terms of, they just thought that people would rent and do some other things to it that it could destroy, according to the PC board, that could destroy the integrity of single-family zoning districts, particularly in R1 or AR, certain districts and all. So, but it was
But
one of
we
those
have
things
to
where
have a
people.
minimum lot size and all of those things that would even be able to accommodate.
Right, we
something
can
like
have standards to require a special use permit. We can put whatever standards in that's needed, but it's something that I think we need to go back and just have a little more conversation with them.
well, and it needs to, the architecture needs to match the
Definitely
house.
that, definitely. And it can't be any larger than the principal structure. So there are certain standards that are existing in my particular county. We have them. You mentioned
Well,
the city of
like the
Conyers.
commissioner said, they're all over the city of Conyers.
Oh, yeah,
sir.
the
They're
city,
right in here,
all
right here,
my-
right
all
here
my
in Old Town.
neighbors have.
They're right here in
yeah,
Old Town.
all
So
my
it's one of those things to where we got to figure out what the main issue. I was actually at our CGA meeting, so I'm the third person getting this, but we'll figure out what their main gripe is and what can we do to kind of tweak this to make this amenable on all sides. I think it's the idea is a good concept, but we need to just take it back to them, massage it, and figure out where there's a win-win on all sides for it. So again, we recommend referring it back to the PC and coming back next month.
So let me ask you, Director, because
Yes, sir.
when you say going back to the Planning Commission, and it's always a plus when the Planning Commission says we approve, and then ultimately the BOC says we approve. That's just not the way it is all the time.
Definitely.
There
Yes,
have
sir.
been times throughout the history of doing business that the Planning Commission will have denied something and the BOC approves it.
Yes, sir.
I don't want us to get hung up with going back and forth. I think that just the response from these two board members tonight, we're pretty clear on what we want to do. Don't tie it up back and forth with him and all of it. This is your Board of Commissioners.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just want to say that.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of good reasons to be able to have an ADU on a piece of property.
I agree.
And a lot of it has to do with affordable housing.
Yes, ma'am.
And especially when you've got, an older parent.
Exactly.
Or
Definitely.
even you've got a kid that's graduated from college and isn't working yet, but they can maintain their independence.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons to do it, but
Tons of them.
I think,
definitely think there needs to be, it needs to say what the minimum lot size is.
right, this says 0.45 acres, units per lot, 1 unit per lot, setback 20 feet.
Oh,
And then
okay.
the ADU facade must match the existing facade. I don't see, right,
Quality, nothing of less quality, so it's.
I don't see what else we would, unless you have some other ideas, how we would tweak this
Well,
to keep it from.
Again, I was not at our last PC meeting, unfortunately, but I wanted to, at our next meeting, when we have some more discussion with them, when we have a little time to drill down a little more to figure out what the actual
All right,
overall
we're
issue
going to
is.
yield to the director's request to go back to the Planning Commission and kind of
And we come before you
communicate
again with this,
them.
it'll be ironed out. That's
Okay.
my,
Yeah.
All right.
my
I
recommendation.
think we just need the details a little
Right.
more structured.
Whatever their major gripe is,
But I
we can iron it out.
definitely,
Right.
I think it's something that we need.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. All right, moving forward, let's see, next item, item F, cottage homes / tiny houses. Text amendment case 2021-21 to amend section 106-1, definitions, section 206-1, watershed protection district, section 218-1, table of permitted uses, section 218-13, supplemental standards of use and development, and section 222-2, parking space requirements. Summary, prospective and current property owners have asked about accessory dwelling units in residential zoning districts. Currently, our ordinance restricts them to certain non-residential zoning districts only. We have amendments that will help to provide a variety of housing choices and to accommodate a wide range of income levels, age groups, and lifestyles. Planning Commission, well, they denied because of concerns that allowing them all over the county and concerns including aesthetics and how they would fit in with existing subdivisions. They want to see another draft after taking their thoughts into consideration. And staff recommendation is taking this back to the Planning Commission again. Now, earlier we talked about having a district specific to
Right.
cottages. They were not opposed to that. This item, they were concerned about putting tiny homes, cottage homes in areas next to a 4,000 square foot home.
Right.
Or putting in areas, they said, no, we don't want that. But there's a district specific to it. And so,
Well, the MRU district, mixed residential,
yes, ma'am.
you go to some of the upscale developments in Atlanta and around, and they have 4,000, 5,000 square foot homes, and they have tiny homes, and they have townhouses, and and it's all in one area. But those tiny homes are of the same quality as those big houses. So, I don't know that it necessarily conflicts if it's done right, if it.
And I think some of the concerns, again, and I do a great point, Commissioner Williams, but the fact that, again, if you're in an R1 or AR, again, if you have a home that's 3,800 square feet and, you don't want a house beside you that's 700 square feet.
But why
I'm
not?
not sure
But if I
why.
but if I purchase the lot next to your, the chair's 10,000 square foot house,
Yes, ma'am.
and we have a zoning, why can't I put my tiny house there? I mean, if he runs to
They
control
are
it, he should
support-
Because
supportive of the
you loud.
Right, once I put my fence up, I should be allowed to
they are in
have
support
my
of having a
tiny
district for
home
it, and
next
so
to
I don't
his
want that
10,000.
little bit of house making all that noise.
So,
Okay, so you need to go up and see Halcyon.
wait a minute, so by the same token,
And so,
Incoming.
so you got me going. So let me say this, because I heard what Commissioner Williams said, and she is correct about in the metro area. I've seen it. There's plenty of places that fits to that description. The concern becomes out here in a I'm going to use the term rural or area.
Culture's different.
That if the culture's different, but we'll have tiny homes just popping up in different places.
It's got to be all in a.
I like the
organized-
district. I like the
Yeah.
idea of the
I think
district and
regulating
creating
it,
that.
having a district,
That
yeah.
keeps them in a, but
And keep in mind now, tiny homes typically, because of smaller lots, there's the environmental aspect of sewer versus septic. Where the district, we talked about having it in a tight constrained district in areas, sewer, infrastructure's there. If you go out in areas, the Oglesby Bridge roads of the county, these more,
the septic tank would be bigger than
some
mine.
of the out the rural area. You have septic and tiny homes, it's not a good match because you need the distance for your field line and all. So there's some environmental concerns. So with that, but I'm definitely, we are definitely in support of a district specific to it, but to have them arbitrarily throughout the county, that's something we need to.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
That would look kind of weird.
Yeah, and I think
However, in an MRU, mixed residential use zoning area, I don't see why you couldn't have that mix, because it would be
But if
developed
they're all in the
as
same area,
same
let's say if
thing.
they have a 20-acre site, 6 acres, I'll put tiny homes, and they're gonna be clustered over here. But not like mismatch kind of thing. So yeah, in that example, I can see it working. But you don't wanna have 3,000 square foot home 600 square foot home,
No,
3,000.
no.
Yeah, so
They're
in an
kind of
MRU, yes.
segregated in
Right,
one
right.
side.
Like the first 4 blocks, or the first phase could be tiny homes, phases 3 and 4 could be the larger homes. And something like that, that would be the purpose of the MRU, so, and if that's the,
Lionsgate.
You gonna put, you
Go,
gonna put,
go
you
right to
gonna
Lionsgate and put my little tiny home.
put your tiny home in Lionsgate?
Yeah.
All right, next item, please.
okay? Yes, yes, sir. All right. All right, final item, item G. 0 Salem Road, Southeast Conyers, Georgia. G1, future land use map case 2021-04. A request to amend the future land use map to redesignate property from mixed use / employment center to mixed density residential. And G2, a rezoning case, a request to rezone property from neighborhood commercial, mixed use, civic institutional to MUR. This is Buckingham Investments. This is at the corner of Salem and Fairview. This is, again, is a mixed townhomes as well as single-family homes. But the applicant has been doing a lot of concern back and forth with GDOT, with traffic, and just getting a better, I guess, appeasing to the residents of some of their concerns. They requested that this case be continued to the September public hearings. So this is where we are with that, and staff definitely supports that. But just to give you a little background on it, it's the corner of Salem and Fairview, and it's a mixed density proposal as well.
Okay, okay, Fairview. I'm thinking East Fairview.
No, this is
This is
Fairview,
right on the border of the county, almost in
where they
Newton
put that
County.
ugly transmitter thing that's sitting there at the corner of Salem and McCalla and Fairview, right?
Exactly,
Right
McCalla,
there.
there you go. That's exactly.
Ooh.
So there's been a lot of concerns, traffic, and some other things. They're working with GDOT, they actually did a continuation from last month as well. They haven't gotten what they needed, and just, making sure the citizens are on board and haven't gotten it yet, so they requested this to be continued to next month.
And the thing that they haven't gotten is the response from GDOT regarding the roadway.
Traffic concerns, neighbors buying in, they want the citizen support. When we presented this at the PC meeting, obviously the citizens
Well,
were.
the biggest concern for the Citizens Commission, as y'all might remember, is the road itself. And that's a big project. GDOT which is on the radar, and it's gonna get started here pretty soon. I think it's gonna take care of itself in time, but GDOT and the state need to talk more to the community about what their plans are. Execution date, giving clear description as to when this thing is gonna actually happen. In terms of the road widening is what I'm talking about. But it will lend itself for opportunities like this. I think this project is ideal for that area, no doubt about that. But there is an issue with the traffic.
Yes, sir.
But that's in motion as we speak too. All right.
All right. Okay, any other questions for this particular item? All right, this concludes the actual presentations for tonight's agenda. But I do have one item I'd like to bring before the body.
Okay.
I'd like to introduce the new county planner, Mr. Paul Racer. Introduce yourself, please.
Good evening.
Good
I'm
evening.
Paul Racer. I've been here about a month now. Excited to be here.
Well, Paul, welcome to Rockdale County. Commissioners, I had the pleasure of meeting Paul, and I jokingly said to Paul that we were going to put a ball and chain on his foot so
right.
he wouldn't leave. But he's already jumped right in with the team and doing a great job. But
Good.
absolutely, young, talented, and ready to go. Forward thinking, too. I like that.
I'm glad to be here.
Yes, sir.
Glad to- It's nice to meet you.
Thank you, Paul. Let's give Paul another round of applause.
Any other questions? If not, this concludes the agenda items for tonight.
Commissioners, any questions for the director?
No, that was a nice
Very
meeting.
good, nice 58-minute meeting.
Director
No,
Rhodes?
actually less, because we
I think
started.
that takes care of all the business, chiefs, for the night. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. This meeting is adjourned.
All right, good night, everybody.